Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, due to a couple things that happened over the weekend, first off, in the NASCAR Cup Series race, the little fight, I guess you would say, or sucker punch as some are calling it, between Nick Sanchez and Matt Crafton. All we do know that Nick Sanchez made an aggressive move on track that unfortunately led to a multiple truck accident, which Matt Crafton was involved in. After the race, or during the race actually, Matt Crafton came to pit road, parked in Nick Sanchez's pit stall, said some things to Nick's team. Obviously pit road was closed at the time. The tow truck came and got the truck. We know in the garage area there was a confrontation between Matt Crafton and Nick Sanchez. We've seen Matt Crafton's response online. We've seen Nick Sanchez's response online. We have seen Nick Sanchez's mother's thing online. We have seen a partial video of everybody getting pulled off, the bloody face of Nick Sanchez. Apparently his nose appears to be broken. Everyone has chimed in on what they think should happen. We had a full day of NASCAR XM Channel 90 radio talking about it, callers talking about it, hosts talking about it. I'm going to go ahead and give my opinion on it. I know there's been people talking about that Busch should be suspended. Nick Sanchez did make the statement more than once. I'm going to kill you at Homestead. I'm hoping people aren't taking it seriously. I'm hoping people are taking that with a grain of salt, that it was meant in the heat of the moment. Apparently, Matt Crafton, one ever form, punched Nick Sanchez in the face. Either he tapped him on the shoulder, he turned around and punched him. Again, that's not a sucker punch. That's not a cheap shot. That's a you're looking at me, I'm punching you in the face kind of deal. I don't think NASCAR needs to get involved, at least to the level of suspensions. I think you pull both guys aside. NASCAR has done this before, and we'll actually find out in the morning on TMD what Elton Sawyer and NASCAR is looking into. He's pretty transparent with the boys there on TMD. 8 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 Central. Tune in, check it out. I don't think it'll be a suspension. I think if anything, it'll be points and a fine. It'll be fine and a points. There was a few statements that I've read. People were like, Crafton punched a kid. Okay. Unlike late model racing, your local late models, the Cars Tour, for instance, the Dale Jr. and Jeff Burton, all them own, you can be 14 years old driving that. So if Ken Schrader walked up to a 14-year-old girl and punched her, then I would agree, yeah, you're hitting a kid, you can't do that. Nick Sanchez is a 22-year-old young man. He's old enough to vote, he's old enough to buy liquor, he's old enough to fight for his country. He is an adult. Matt Crafton, a 47-year-old male, he is an adult. He is old enough to do all the same things as well. Two adults in an exchange, and we know Matt Crafton punched him in the face. Plain and simple. We have seen multiple things over NASCAR history where people have gotten punched in the face. The most famous is the 1979 Daytona 500 when Cale went to beating on Bobby's fist with his nose. That's told from Bobby Allison's side. We've seen Kevin Harvick get involved in multiple drivers. We've seen Joey Logano and Kyle Busch get involved, and Kyle came up bloody. We've seen Clint Boyer sprint across the garage area, across the infield, going after Jeff Gordon. We've seen Austin Hill just got the hell out of Myatt Snyder and knock Myatt Snyder into 2025. We've seen Ty Gibbs and we've seen Sam Mayer get involved in it. We've seen this year Noah Gragson and Ross Chastain. I would classify that as a sucker punch because there's a guy standing between him and he slings around him. This was what it is, a fight. And no, there's not going to be, it's not Bowman Gray Stadium on a Friday night where if you have a fight and a race breaks out and you call the cops on everyone. Nothing like that. I think if anything at all is done, it'll be points and a fine, or maybe just a fine. I don't think it goes to the level of a suspension. My opinion only. As for the Kevin Harvick issue with the post-race disqualification, DQ'd, here is what rule that was violated. The perimeter of the windshield must remain flush with the body surface, and windshield fasteners must remain secure for the entire event. All fasteners must be securely fastened for all times during the event. Except in cases explicitly permitted in NASCAR rules, parts and other assemblies must be assembled and utilized as outlined in the NASCAR rulebook. No, this is not a rule that NASCAR just decided to go, we're going to penalize Kevin Harvick because we can. No, NASCAR doesn't just make up rules. Any rule that they enforce is in the rule book. Every single team, anybody that works on these cars, every single person of every single team has access to the rule book. These rule books, more than likely, are online for the teams, or they have hard copies as well. If there's an update, they send teams update. We've updated rule XYZ. Go look at it. Now, the biggest thing online has been, there's not a competitive advantage. Well, if you listen to the Late Shift with Todd Gordon and Brad Gilley at 6:05, 6:10 tonight, Todd Gordon, who is a NASCAR Cup Series crew chief, stated, now, he has more experience with the Gen 6 car than he does with the Gen 7 car. But when it comes to the windshield, if you leave it loose and the bottom of it moves up, you're letting air into the cockpit. By bringing more air into the cockpit, you're raising the cockpit pressure. Now, on the back windows of these Nexen cars, there is where the air goes out. The more pressure you build up inside the cockpit, the more pressure it goes out the back. It goes out on the back of the car, right up at the top of the back window. That pressure, as it goes out, can affect the airflow. When the air goes across the top of the car, that pressure pushes the air up. Now that air goes over the top of the spoiler completely versus down the back of the car. That's going to help with drag. I don't know if that has anything to do with this. That is what Todd Gordon explained. Now, obviously there are rules and regulations in NASCAR. The top 3 to 5 cars get fully 100% inspected at the racetrack. If you are found in violation of a rule here, you get disqualified. Remember, last year, the 11 and the 18 both got DQ'd at Pocono, first and second. This is the second place car. We've seen multiple cars. Brad Keselowski got DQ'd at the end of last year. Now, here's the statement that Stuart Haas put out today. At the completion of the race, not all of our windshield fasteners were secure, as we had bolts that held the windshield in place back off out of the course of the 500 miles. We are in process of diagnosing why this happened and how to prevent it from moving forward. We are disappointed in NASCAR's decision to disqualify our race car and the hard-earned finish by our driver and team. We will not appeal. Our complete focus is on the remaining races in this year's schedule. Greg Zippinelli, Chief Communication Officer of Stuart Haas Racing. From what is being told on NASCAR Channel 90 on XM Radio, XM Sirius XM Radio, because it was an at-track violation, post-race inspection violation, it was actually not appealable. So I thought that was kind of weird how the team is saying one thing and here and not just one, multiple sources saying the other. We don't know for a fact what went on. We may find out this weekend because NASCAR's new policy of being more transparent, they actually let the team see and all this of what penalties happen and stuff. So only time will tell truly what this was, if it was anything at all. Do we know if it caused a competitive advantage? No, we don't know that. But could it have? According to Todd Gordon, it could have in the right circumstances. We're not saying that they did it for this, but in the right circumstances, those are the things that Todd said could possibly, at least on the Gen 6 cars, he doesn't know that much about the Gen 7. He's only done like 3 races with Jimmy Johnson. So, but he's saying there is a chance. So there could have been some type of competitive advantage. The DQ, from my understanding, once you're DQ'd, that is the whole penalty. I know a lot of people are calling into Speedway with Dave Moody and was confused about that. How come sometimes they get points of money, sometimes they get DQ? If it's done post-race at the track, like this, DQ. If, for example, Kevin Harvick finished 9th, and they take their random cars to the R&D center. Say they take the 4, the 24, the 34. They get back to the R&D center, they go through the cars, they find an infraction. That's when the L1, L2, and L3 penalties come about. Since this was found in post-race, and then some people said, we shouldn't have been found in pre-race. There's a pre-race inspection. Right, but the way Stuart Haas, Rick Zipadelli said it, those screws over the 500 miles worked themselves loose. So one means you didn't either have them tight completely, or you didn't use locking tight, whatever it's called, Loctite, to make sure they stayed locked, made tight. Regardless, it is a penalty. They got disqualified. NASCAR is not picking on Kevin Harvick because it's his last year. NASCAR is not picking on Stuart Haas because they like the fact that Tony Stewart is drag racing, or that Tony Stewart owns the SRX series. That came up in a call today too. NASCAR runs the rule book and sanctions the sport. Everything for everyone is equal. So we've seen this year $400,000 fine to the 4-car team of Pinty Motorsports. We've seen an L3 penalty to Stuart Haas. When the part it looked similar, but it was completely a manufactured part. Haas Automation, we assume, because that's whose team it was on, made a part that you should buy from a single source supplier. It wasn't a supply issue. It wasn't where they couldn't get the part. It wasn't where they changed the part. They created a part they shouldn't have been touching. So they deserve that penalty. So that's just my thoughts on the Nick Sanchez, Matt Crafton. I don't think anything should happen. And on Stuart Haas and the Ford disqualification, it's done as well. On to the Roval. We'll see what happens with the playoffs. Stay tuned to our Sports Show for the Bank of America 400 Roval preview, and we'll talk points about it then. As always, thanks for watching the Robert Sports Show, and don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader in sports channel content.